Hey everyone, it's Kayla with Craft-e-Corner. I'm here again, live. Again, this is only like my second video I've ever done, so bear with me. I am here, I'm going to show you the Silhouette Ratchet blade versus the self-adjusting blade in the new Cameo 3. It's going to be head-to-head. I'm going to see how well one works versus the other. So let me turn you around and give you kind of a view of what we're doing. So I have the design that we're going to work on. It'll focus. Okay, so I can't really show you too much of the software yet because they're still working on it, but there's the design. Here's the machine. And we have this piece of vinyl here. I'm just going to put on my mat. We're going to go through this whole process and see how it works. So this is just a scrap piece of junky vinyl that I have laying around. Here's the machine. So we're going to turn this on. And we do have the two different blades. There's the self-adjusting ratchet blade. So this is the new blade that comes out with the actual machine. And then we have the old school regular ratchet blade. So they're both going to be set on the same settings. And we're going to put them head to head. So first we're going to line our mat up with this little blue mark. So this is something that they highlighted on the Cameo 2 and they did it again on the Cameo 3. So you want to make sure your mat's lined right up against there. And then we're going to hit the load button, which is over here. Okay, now the ratchet blade, or the self-adjusting blade, can only go in this first slot because there's these little nubs on the back. And then there's these little nubs inside the holder. So you gotta line those up. And you can pop it in. And then the other one, the regular ratchet blade, there's a little fin on this one. So if you're familiar with this from the other Cameos, you want this little fin to be facing forward. Let's pop that in there, lock those in place. And we're gonna send this to the Silhouette. Now it's gonna make a lot of noise and it's gonna cut it open. So I'm going to show you if you can see. It's probably hard to see, but the ratchet blade has a little red mark in it that moves every time it taps. So it just set itself to 3. Now it's going to cut out our design. I'm sorry if this is sideways. I'm not sure if it's going to end up sideways or if it's going to show you the right direction. I'm just going to let this cut. So one thing that's nice about the new Cameo is that it has this dual carriage. This is handy if you have more than one type of thing you're trying to do, like sketching and drawing, or in this case, if you wanted to cut twice as fast, you could do that. One thing that I thought it would do that it doesn't actually do is cut at the same time. So what it will do is the first one will start cutting, and then it will stop, and then the second one will start cutting. So we're on the first cut right now with the self-adjusting blade. When it's done with this, it'll go over and start with the other blade. So if you wanted to cut and sketch at the same time, you could tell it to sketch first and then draw, or draw first and then cut, or the other way around. So while this is cutting, I'll talk about a couple of the features of the Cameo 3 that they've changed. So first is the dual carriage. That's what we're watching right now. And the next thing you can notice is the roller bars have changed a little bit. It's a lot easier to adjust the roller bars. It was a little bit harder on the last model. It was even harder on the first model. So included with the Silhouette Cameo 3 is the self-adjusting blade. The black blade is not included with the machine. We are working on some bundles that include it though. Okay, so now you can see the second one, or the blue one, is moving. So while that's going, so there's the ratchet adjusting blade built right into the deck of your machine. They built in some storage on the side here. There's more storage on the back. One thing I really like is that they built in lots of storage. Underneath the mat here, which I'm not going to pull up because it's under the mat, is even more built-in storage. They kept a couple of things the same. There's still the cross cutter in the back of the machine. Still has a touch screen, still has the cross cutter, which is really nice for cutting vinyl. And you can still use the same blades. Oh, yeah. Say there's a spider crawling on the wall. Probably. We have spiders here. that's okay. I always said there's only two kinds of spiders. There's only two types of spiders, the ones that live in the basement and the ones that live outside. If they're inside the house, I usually kill them, but I don't really see them at the moment, so that's okay. Peeking and crawling on the wall. Alright, so this is just about done cutting here. So I put boxes on the outside of my vinyl designs just to make it easier to weed. Okay, so now it's done cutting, so it's got to think about it for a second. For a long second. And then it will unload the mat. Okay, you have to hit unload. Okay, so now let's test and see how this worked. I'm going to just leave this on the cutting mat to weed it. It was kind of a rolly piece of vinyl. So let's just see. So the first one we'll do is the self-adjusting blade. This is just a really sharp hook tool. It's called the Precision Hook Tool. We do have those at Craft-e-Corner.com. I like it a little bit better. It's nice and sharp. So this is the first one, self-adjusting blade. Okay, so this does say you are so awesome on it. Some of these letters aren't sticking so well. That's okay. Let's just see if we can get this to weed. So this is a really fine font. Sometimes it's harder to weed those. So we got that part weeded. Let's get these little guys out of here. So not too bad. That actually weeded pretty well. So this is a trick I've learned from weeding, is you take a piece of scrap vinyl and just wrap it around your finger, and then you stick all your little pieces to it as you go. So you have a place to house them. So you see, this is where these squares that I put into the design come in handy. So I'm only weeding the part of the design and not the whole thing. So let's weed the second one. Okay, so it looks like the same kind of letters sort of stuck. Actually, the letters are up in here and I can't really get them unstuck. So I'm just going to leave them in there for now. And we'll pull that off. Okay, so it looks like we lost 3 letters. This is the middle of the O. Let's see if we can fix this. There's always ways to save it when vinyl doesn't quite cut right. So you see both of these kind of had issues sticking. These fine letters coming off. Doesn't have much to do with the blade, and probably more to do with the letters itself, how thick the letters are. Oop. Okay, sorry, my hands are in the way. So overall, they cut pretty comparably. I'd say this wasn't a stellar example of how well it can cut, but I wanted to do something a little bit more intricate because any blade can cut easy shape, so I wanted to try to do something a little bit more difficult. This is a design I've worked with in the past, and it cut a little bit better, so I might have had better setting choices. But you can see it cut right through the vinyl. There's nothing sticking here. Some of it is sticking, like the vinyl's coming off. But again, that's probably just because of the font and less to do with the blade itself. Alrighty, so here's this. And some of it has to do with how I'm weeding this. It's kind of upside down for me. Alright, does anyone have any questions about the Cameo 3 if you're joining me live? If you have questions about the Cameo 3, I have it here in front of me. I can show you whatever you'd like to see from it. Oh boy. So here's a good troubleshooting video on how not to do vinyl as well. Okay, so here's one tip. If your vinyl does come up like that, because it happens. It's not the first time I've ever worked with vinyl, but it's obviously happening to me right now. One thing you can do is you can look, and your blade, even if you cut it the right way, like even if you don't cut through your backing sheet, you'll make a little score line in your backing sheet, so you can still line up your vinyl. I think this vinyl is just really being staticky or something because it's sticking to everything but the backing sheet. So you can kind of hold it up to the light and I can kind of see where the blade already was. So I just can nudge it around and get it back into its spot. All right. Oop. Vinyl likes to stick to everything, but where you want it to stick, I found. Okay. Okay, so besides the vinyl coming up a lot more on the regular ratchet blade, the cut job really was pretty similar. You know, we got all of our little letters cut pretty well. So if anyone has any questions, I mean, this is the dual carriage here. And one thing I don't know if you could see on the video or not, but every time that this ratchet blade comes over to the edge over here, there's this little red mark in there. And the red mark moves every time. So what it will do is it will knock it until it hits, it'll, I think, knock about 8 to 10 times. It'll go over to the side, clear itself out, and then subtract from 10 however many high you need to get. So I was going for 3, so it hit 7 times to knock itself down to 3. This blade is actually a whole lot like the regular blade. It still has a cap that you can take off on the end. It's a little bit trickier to get this cap off if you needed to clean it out, because there's like, it moves up and down like this, and that blade sticks out every time you push it. So you gotta be really careful. But if you can get in there with a pair of tweezers, or if you have longer nails, you can grab this top part and just twist it off, and then you can clean it out. So if you have anything stuck in here, you can clean it out. You can wipe it off with an alcohol wipe, and then you can just screw it back on. Sometimes if you're having bad cuts, it's because your blade cap is loose. So this is pretty similar to the regular ratchet blade. You know, they have the same kind of top. Noticeable differences: the white one's a lot bigger than the black one. You know, this one has the top part. Let's see, watch. If I go like this, see, watch this white, or the red thing. See it moving? That's what the machine's doing every time that it goes over to the side, is it's moving that little red thing, which is making this blade stick out further or less further. Okay, well, I just wanted to show you guys the difference between the two blades. I hope this video was a little bit better than the last one. I am pretty shy about doing videos, so I'm working on it. I hope it wasn't too shaky and that the picture is not sideways, even though I see it sideways on my iPod. Here's one more thing I want to show you, is the pull-out drawer. This is some additional storage they built in. So this is where you can keep your cross cutter for your vinyl, and your little blade chuck is what I'm calling this. This helps adjust the top one is for your self-adjusting blade, your middle one is for your regular ratchet blade, and this little thing is the keys to get the Bluetooth out of the bottom of your machine should you need to for some reason. And this one, you can keep things like your hook tools, your spatula tool, anything like that. I do have a tutorial I'm going to write on how to make these cute little inserts so you can decorate your machine. Here's the pull-out mat supporters. This will help if you have like a longer mat, like a 12 by 24 inch mat on there. There's 3 of those total. There's one here, here, and here. They just fold into your tray, and this just pulls in and out from underneath your machine. So extra storage is always good in my book. Anyway, if you have any questions, leave a message or leave a note underneath the video, and I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Have a good night.